Good afternoon, everyone. It is August 21st, 2023, and we had an interesting session today. Now, the pre market was able to finally get above this heavy downward trend line we had from about Monday's overnight high last week, way down to about roughly Friday's close. We were in this aggressive downtrend. We were able to break it and then hold it on the back test. What I'd mentioned during the weekly outlook was that I was looking for us to kind of reclaim this area in general. I thought we'd be able to manage to dip a little bit lower, but I was looking for a reclaim here and then have some nice two-way trade, which we did have, and make our way back to here. Now, around 20 to 36. So the idea being roughly the prior month's low, that July low at 19s, up to about the VWAP close at 32. So anywhere around here is kind of the ideal spot for shorts to hold, in my opinion. And so far they have. We got a really nice offer into the close there. Now, today's session was quite different between the two tickers. The Nasdaq had immediately took the overnight high, while ES was kind of struggling. ES took out the overnight low, whereas NQ held its initial balance low, held its open, and actually ended up taking the initial balance high, left the overnight low alone. And all these things combined, today's trade, if it felt a little bit weird, that's to be expected, given that a session like this only occurs about 5% of the time in the past 5 years of data. It was a highly unusual, odd sort of session, so it wasn't unusual that if you felt a little bit weird, that's kind of to be expected. And here's what I was looking at on the Nasdaq. Let's go over to it. Just like I had ES. Wanting to kind of reclaim this area and make our way up to here. Same idea. Shorts have held this zone roughly above. We may be flirting with getting into that weekly point of control at 112-ish, and I don't think we'll get much of a move above there. I think in general we're going to be playing within this sort of zone, something like this, before that Jackson hole, before J. Powell and Harker and all these guys start yapping. So overall, if shorts start to step on it here, we have a shot of breaking that prior week's low before the data starts to hit. I'm doubtful that we get that scenario. It's doubtful that we get a meaningful break of structure prior to heavy data hitting the tape. So in general, tomorrow, what I'm going to be looking for is probably some sort of continuation upwards. Let's talk about actual trades here. Keeping in mind, we're at the area where if shorts do step on this thing, or if shorts do want to step on it, this is the spot on both the ES, where it's hit the prior month's low at 19s, or the NQ, where it's hit the VWAP close at about 972. I think that's the number that I'm looking at. Numbers 973 and 3/4. Oh, sorry, the close is at 972. All right. So in terms of trading this, how am I looking at it? Well, let's throw on a nice little 30-minute chart here. We have still not accepted above this supply over here from Thursday's crap out session. So until we've done that, I'm a little bit short biased on ES. I'm not interested in taking longs inside of here. The reason being is that if we do break below 97s, if we do break below those settlement highs, the VWAP close, the open, and all that stuff from this week, if we break down below there, I think shorts are back in control, as there wasn't really a meaningful break to structure. We weren't able to surpass the supply, and we'll just be back below the weekly open. If we do crack below 95, we'll be back below the VWAP close, the settlement highs. Shorts will not be offside. So instead, what I'm going to be looking to do is take some sort of long around that 95 to 02 area, 97s being the VWAP close, and 02s being the point of control that helped break us outwards. On the short side, I am looking at 09s and 19s still if this is a failed breakout attempt. Above, and nothing has changed from last session. 25s, 27s, 32s, 35s, 43s, 47s. This was a big range, especially for a Monday. This was a 50-point range roughly to the downside. Again, I'm not interested in getting long here. Maybe taking long at 67s, maybe around 47 to 54 as well. But in general, I don't really want to be playing the long side if we do break below 95, if indeed shorts are back in control. On the Nasdaq, a little bit more eager to be bid on this thing. The reason being is that this thing gapped up. It had a tiny little gap that it held during that initial balance, was unable to get into the overnight low. Instead, this thing was just pumping all day. So a little bit more eager to be bid. The first spot would be 901 and a half, and that being the VWAP close from today. Is that VWAP close? No, that is the auction that led to the breakout outside of today's initial balance. Below there, 895s, that being the VWAP close. 874 is the point of control. Maybe taking that long, although I'd be more interested in 858s. That was a nice level intraday. Let me just make sure I have that right. Yes, 858s. Below there, 802 and 3/4. That being settlement highs. As you can tell, we are way above settlement highs relative to ES. So I'd be willing to take that long. I think we've got some trap shorts who are trying to break there during kind of that noon time period today. And if we break down below there, just like on ES, I'm not going to be too eager to be bid on it. I think you get sort of a mini liquidation. Maybe you get a hold of 661s, maybe somewhere around here. But again, if we start to break down, I think you're getting into that contract gap running from about what is that? The overnight low from Friday session down to 525, 530ish. On the upside, I'm still willing to take this thing short as we have not fully accepted above Thursday supply. 932s, that being the roughly the weekly halfback. It was a nice level during this Thursday session. I liked it. I'd be willing to take that short. Would be below the halfback, below the weekly VWAP close. Above, I'd be willing to get short at the close, 986s after a stop run of the RTH high from today. Above there, nothing changing. Getting short at Wednesday's VWAP close at 48s, the prior month's low at 63s, 69s also being sort of a little auction up there, 74 and 3/4, also another little auction there, all sorts of little stuff right around there. 107s being the point of control, the trailing point of control from this Tuesday, is that Tuesday? That Wednesday session. Above there, the weekly point of control at 112s. 159s and 172s, kind of the last spot, I think, for us to get a short going, that being the point of control from this Tuesday session. Above there, and I think shorts start to have this in hand, we get into this sort of situation I mentioned, which is that you get a small squeeze and you start playing whack with this 260 to 330 area. So that's how I'm looking at this thing. Shorts are starting to get a little bit offside if we do get above this 160 on the Nasdaq, and if we get above whatever that is, 36 on the ES, we're going to have some more rotations upward. So I'll be looking to the MGI to get an idea of what's happening. Other than that, Globex hasn't even opened yet. I'm sure there'll be some changes to this pre-market. Have a great night. Trade safe.